All right, so I finished graduate school back in May, and my wife says, "Well, we need to celebrate this. This is a big occasion." I agreed. She said, "Do you want to have a party and invite a bunch of people over?" I said, "No, not really." She's like, "Well, what do you want to do?" And then she remembered something that we had done a couple of years ago, and she said, "I know what you want to do. You want to go to LA and rent a fancy car." And I said, "As a matter of fact, I do." So I get on my favorite website for doing that sort of thing, Turo, Turo. Check it out. And at first, I booked a Lamborghini Huracan to pick up there at the LAX Turo lot. And then my wife says, "You better check and make sure that's got enough space that we can actually fit our luggage." That didn't work. So I contacted the owner and I said, "I'm sorry, I got to cancel, but there's no luggage space and we got a couple of bags because we're coming in from Seattle." And he says, "Do this, McLaren. I've got a McLaren 570S." And I said, "Honestly, that was one of my other strong contenders. Let's do that." He goes, "Yeah, you can totally get a couple of bags in there as long as they're not giant checked luggage." So we were just going for the weekend, so no problem. So anyway, so we get to the LAX Turo lot, which is just a couple miles from the airport there, and sure enough, the frunk, that is trunk frunk, is big enough to get my duffel bag and my wife's carry-on roller bag in there. Not too a little snug, but not bad. Certainly better than what you get in the Lamborghini Huracan or the Audi R8, which were the other contenders for John's grad weekend. So anyway, so we roll out to Beverly Hills, and it's kind of cool when you're in that car. I'm gonna be honest. As a guy that drives a Subaru every day and doesn't get any attention for it because in Seattle, Subaru not special. It's kind of fun to have people kind of geek out a little bit when they see your car, and lots of people taking pictures, and a lot of camera phones being raised. So that was kind of fun. Uh, and we were kind of dinking around in Beverly Hills before we went to our hotel. Just had a little time to kill, see the sights, and there was one guy in some sort of regular American car. I don't know what it was, a Ford Focus or something, and we had the roof down at that point, so he just yells across this big intersection, "What kind of car is that?" And he was just really animated. I just said, "McLaren." He just looked at me like, "Don't know what that is." But anyway, so we went to the Beverly Hills Hotel where we were staying, and I just kind of asked the valets out of curiosity. I said, "So where are we going to put little baby Mac here?" And they said, "Well, we have a VIP garage, and that's where this car belongs." I said, "Okay, tell me about that." And they go, "Oh, it's right down this way here, and you can come check on it if you'd like, just to make sure that you're satisfied with the conditions." And I knew it'd be fine, but I really wanted to check out what else was in that VIP garage. Not bad. Not bad, people. Anyway, so they're after dinner. I didn't have a whole lot to do immediately following dinner, so I said, "Hey, I'm gonna go check on the car." They were there to welcome me by name because that's how the Beverly Hills Hotel does it. Anyways, so there was a Ford Model T not too far from where my car was parked. A $270,000 Pontiac GTO 1964, for those of you American Iron fiends. There was a Murcielago. I saw 488 GTB. There was a Mulsanne, a Wraith, a whole lot of cars under covers with all the right logos from all the usual suspects that I would like to have seen. Especially the one that looked like a 959. I kind of wanted to see that, but it was undercover. And then there was an 812 Superfast parked right next to my McLaren, so that was pretty good company. So, anyways, once I got done geeking out in the garage, called it a night because I had an early morning the next day. So, next morning, the plan was to go out the Angeles Crest Highway, also known as Highway 2, from Beverly Hills. It was like maybe 30, 45-minute drive, heading up the San Gabriel Mountains. It is a super windy road that takes you up towards some ski areas that are up there, but it's definitely the place to drive if you have a hot car. There's lots of places you can turn out, take pictures. It's kind of scenic. We were out there early in the morning, probably 8:30 or so, and there was not a lot of people, which is the idea. That's when the real car buffs get out there to stretch their legs. And at one point, uh, you can you can imagine there's not just car people there. There's motorcycle people there. Specifically, a couple of guys on some high performance Japanese bikes, and they were literally 8 feet off my bumper, and they were just sitting there with like one hand on their hip, just kind of waiting for me to get out of the way. And I was probably going, when I noticed them in the rearview mirror, I was probably going 75 through a 25 or 30 mile an hour corner. I was like, I'm not doing that bad, but whatever. So it's a lot of fun, a lot of enthusiasts. I saw I think it was a Pista that was flanked front and back by some 911s. One of them was a GT3 RS. So you get the picture. There's lots of serious car people having some serious fun up on that highway, and never saw any cops, so that was nice. That could have been bad. But anyways, you got to do that. Go up that Angeles Crest. And then really the highlight, this is kind of funny. I thought it was cute. There was at one of the pullouts where we were just kind of taking some pictures and taking a little breather. We had the wing doors open on the McLaren, which, kind of sends the message to the world that this is not a Toyota Camry. And this kid comes walking over kind of sheepishly, and he's like, I don't know, maybe 8 or 9 years old. And he says to me very sheepishly that he would love to sit in the McLaren. And then he hands me his phone, and he says, and if I could do it, could you take my picture? I was like, absolutely. It was actually kind of the highlight of the day. It was really cool. Super sweet little kid. And he goes, as he's sitting there and I'm about to snap this picture, he says, this is a 570S, right? Yes, it is. And he just kind of sighed and took this deep breath like, best day ever. And I'm thinking, I'm driving it. It is the best day ever. So anyways, yeah, we get ready to pull out of there. And then there's this BMW little M-powered mob group. I don't know, there's just like 3 or 4 of them. And they were obviously checking out the McLaren a little bit too. And one of the guys said, as we're getting ready to swing back onto the road, he goes, you better hit it. You better light it up. And I said, well, with traction control on and all that, and my wife here, I don't think I'm going to light it up too hard, but see what I can do. So for the first time, I really buried the throttle. I've never felt that kind of acceleration since I drove a Tesla S100 and really hammered that thing. I mean, it's otherworldly acceleration. It's scary. Like I don't even know if I'd want to drive a McLaren 720 with more horsepower. It's almost violent, but really fun. Anyway, so had a really good time with that car. Never felt any hate from anybody. You'd think driving around a $200,000 car, some people are gonna give you crap, but a little good-natured jealousy from people, but never anything negative. So that was really cool. But anyways, about the car itself, the McLaren 570S, I never found the limits, honestly, of the car. The Pirelli P Zeros are fantastic tires. They didn't chirp or complain. But then, in fairness, I didn't go try and find the limits. As it turns out, my wife, who's in the passenger seat, repeatedly expressed a desire to have our children grow up with both parents who were alive and not paraplegic either. So, had to keep backing off a little bit. But the hydraulic steering in that car, it's fantastic. I mean, like a go-kart. I mean, amazing. Absolutely a 10 out of 10. I'm 6 foot tall, 195 pounds, and I found the cockpit to be fantastically comfortable. The driving position was good. It's not super adjustable. There's not a ton of space in there, but we were in it pretty much all day, and it was great. The ceramic brakes are super powerful. Didn't show any signs of fade. I really couldn't find much about that car that I didn't like, with one exception. The engineering finally seemed to have failed on one thing in the McLaren 570S. The navigation system, not usable. It's so bad. So we ended up just using our phones for nav. So not a big problem, but the McLaren 570S is such a good car. I was just really impressed. And one of my car buff friends he has an Aventador, he's got Bentleys, he's had a 911, he's had tons of amazing cars. He really wanted to get my feedback because he hasn't driven a McLaren, I don't think. And he said, so I know you drove a Ferrari California, another Turo rental, I love that car. That was a good car. And it's supposed to be the baby Ferrari and not be all that amazing. And some people call it not a real Ferrari. Go drive it. Pretty awesome. All-wheel drive, wicked fast, super tight engineering. Ferrari California is a heck of a car. But anyway, so it compares very favorably to that. I mean, the Ferrari is going to have a couple small advantages. I think the styling's about a tie. I think both the McLaren 570 and the Ferrari California are about a 9 out of 10 on styling. I don't like the front end of the McLaren very much. I think the back end looks cool. I don't think the front's all that hot. But anyways, other cars to compare it to that I've driven, Porsche 911. Feels like a pretty good comp, but I don't know. Porsche 911 is really special, and that's not just because I'm German. It just, I don't know, it just feels so different, but yet it shouldn't, because I mean, if you look at the car layout, drive concept, all that, it's not totally different, but I'd say it's very comparable to the 911, actually, in a lot of ways. And it certainly is in the marketplace, as far as price point. Once you get all done decking out your 911, you could beat a 200,000, I suppose. But other car, not maybe a great comp, but it is one of the fastest I've ever driven, which is the Tesla I mentioned earlier, the Model S P100. Wicked fast. Really a beautiful car to drive. But now this is coming from my wife, so she didn't like it. Didn't like the Tesla. You know why? No thunder. No noise, no soul, no roar. But then again, she kind of grew up in an American muscle car family, so I get it. I definitely get it. The McLaren did sound awfully good. I kind of found myself putting it into track mode a lot, just because you get a lot throatier exhaust note, and it's a whole lot more responsive. And let's be honest, I was kind of attention grabbing you do that when you're a Subaru driver who hasn't had anybody look at you in your car forever. So anyways, so that's my McLaren 570S review. I would tell you to like smash the subscribe button and the like button and whatever these kids do these days, but I don't even know if I got those buttons, honestly. So yeah, dad mode, here we are. That's it. Talk to you later.